Hey everyone, and welcome to Cold Outreach Success Stories, where we interview regular business people just like you who've had a lot of success with cold outreach on LinkedIn and other channels. We go deep into the process with hot tips around targeting, messaging, and personalization so that you can take away some tips to implement in your cold outreach starting tomorrow. Today, we have Damian Reid from Damian M. Reid International. Welcome to the show, Damian.
Thank you so much, Sarav.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. What does your company do and how do you make money?
All right, well, let's get right down to brass tacks then. So I am a small business coach, mentor, and consultant,
Mhm.
and I created a simple 7-step system
Mhm.
for people to design and live their ideal lives. I'm also an international best-selling author, um, and and you know that's how we make money. How I make money is I work with people at an individual basis, on a group basis, or they buy products or services, courses, etc., to support them in living their ideal life.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get deeper into the cold outreach aspect of it. How do you find new clients to work with? What channels do you use?
I use a lot of different channels. So I'm a member of an international networking organization called BNI. A lot of people are familiar with BNI. So that's one aspect for me. I dedicate time on a weekly basis to attend their meetings. I work with other business development members of my team in that organization,
Mhm.
and we find ideal clients to refer to each other.
Mhm.
I have a email list that I am committed to growing, and I market to my email list.
Mhm.
I do social media. I'm broadcasting on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Uh, God, and I guess I can't say Twitter anymore. X.
Excellent.
Um, who changes the Twitter to X? Only Elon Musk does that. The new Instagram platform, Instagram, as well as the new platform that they've got that's like an X substitute.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not on TikTok yet, but I was thinking about TikTok this week and whether or not I can repurpose my reels that I'm using on other social media channels onto TikTok and just put reels
Mhm.
onto TikTok. So that may be a thing to come in the future. And then specifically, for this podcast, I do a cold outreach campaign
Mhm.
um, on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And I specifically use LinkedIn because of the professional perception
Mhm.
of LinkedIn. I
Right.
was just having a conversation with my one of my business partners. I'm involved. So Damian and Reid International is one of 6 businesses that I'm currently involved with, either as the
Mhm.
CEO or as a partner.
Mhm.
And I was having a conversation with one of my business partners this morning, and we were talking specifically about LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And I was telling her there was a statistic that I saw a couple of years ago, and I don't know if it's still valid, but at the time it struck me that 95% of people believe that whatever they see on LinkedIn is true,
That's great.
right? Yeah, and social media has gotten to a point right now where when we look at things on Instagram, we look at things on Facebook, we look at things on TikTok, etc., we question whether or not that's reality. But
Right.
when it comes to LinkedIn, if it's on LinkedIn, it must be true because it's a professional platform and no one's lying on LinkedIn.
Right.
So, um, or at least that's what we think. Uh,
Yeah.
so I chose to use LinkedIn as it's the only cold outreach social media platform that I use. I don't do it on any of the other platforms.
Interesting, interesting. So let's get deeper into that aspect. So
Yeah.
when you decide to do cold outreach on LinkedIn, how do you find which business owners or which small business owners to work with? How do you filter out the people who you don't want to talk to?
Okay. So that's a great question. I run 4 different campaigns
Mhm.
on LinkedIn right now. So the simplest campaign I run is a an acknowledgement campaign, which is simply acknowledging people's birthdays or if they get new job positions.
Mhm.
So I have an automation campaign that does that for me.
Mhm.
And so what that does is it just triggers a communication. You know,
Mhm.
someone feels good from getting recognized as a birthday. Now, LinkedIn tells us that people got birthdays, and it tells us that they got a new job. But how many of us actually have the time? Like, we think about, oh, I should go and wish that person a happy birthday. But how many of us actually have the time to like stop and go through all of that? So
Right.
I automate because it's something that I think is important and I want to recognize it.
Mhm.
And whether people respond or not, I know that I need to acknowledge that for them.
Mhm.
And so that may trigger a thank you or thanks for thinking about me. How are things going with you? And it's an opening for a conversation. If I look at that person and I'm like, that could be a great lead for me, I can go deeper in that conversation because it's been
Right.
initiated by that campaign. The second campaign that I run is a connections campaign.
Mhm.
And so through my networking in other ways, I might get someone as a new contact, but
Mhm.
they may not be connected to me. So I have my campaign check my contacts to see whether or not we're connected on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
if we're not connected on LinkedIn, it goes out and it automatically makes a request to say, hey, we know each other, but we're not connected on LinkedIn. So could we get connected on LinkedIn? And
Mhm.
again, that may create a potential sales lead that I wasn't thinking about before. It's an opening to a conversation.
Right.
And then I run two very specific campaigns. I run a campaign that goes out to copywriters,
Mhm.
and I run and mostly women copywriters because I specialize in working with women entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And I run a campaign that goes out to designers, home designers, and stagers.
Mhm.
And the reason that I chose those two target markets is because I have case studies from
Mhm.
former clients that show what I can do with those particular types of business owners. And
Mhm.
so those are the campaigns that I run, and I reach out, connect to them, and then offer to get into conversation to set up a call, etc.
Mhm. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, this carries a ton of learnings for anyone who's listening. So just notice how specific Damian's campaigns are. You're just trying to start a conversation with one, then you're just trying to just connect offline to online, and then the other two are your actual I would say niches that you're confident in, and you have real proof, right, that you can actually serve those niches well. So this is amazing, like for anyone who's trying to use sales robot, or in general, you're trying to do LinkedIn outreach even in a non-automated way. These principles still stand true, right? You have to identify your niche, and then you have to go out in and approach them in the right way. Now, speaking of approaching them in the right way, what does your copy look like?
I would have to go through all the detail, but my copy is my copy sounds like me. That's the first thing.
Hmm.
My copy sounds like I'm reaching out. If I'm running an automated campaign, I don't want it to sound like an automated campaign. I
Right.
don't know how many times I get what I can tell are automated campaigns
Uh-huh.
coming from people, and the first thing I do is decline the request. I just trash it. So my copy sounds like me. So and this is what I sound like. Me,
Mhm.
and you talking, just pretty easy going.
Right.
Um, and so the first one is usually like a hey, I think that we might be able to, the businesses we're in, we may be able to benefit from being connected with each other. Do you mind connecting on LinkedIn?
Mhm.
And that's actually step two, because step one in my automated campaign is to actually look at their profiles so that they get an automated notification that I looked at them if they go and look at their LinkedIn activity.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, Damian was interested in me. He looked at me, but he never said anything. And then a day or two later, they get a message saying, hey, I saw you and I would love to connect with you because I think we might be able to benefit from each other. So
Mhm.
that's like my first outreach. If the person doesn't respond to me, then my next one is, hey, don't know whether or not you saw my last message,
Right.
but here's why I might want to reach out to you.
Mhm.
Okay. And And if they do respond, I get the response in my inbox and I can then take over the conversation. It's now out of the
Mhm.
automated cycle inside of Sales Robot. Right? So
Right.
I've got someone who's engaged with me and I'm going to start talking to them in a normal way.
Mhm.
My next step, if they haven't responded to sort of the second one, is I get more specific. I
Mhm.
say, here's a link to a business case,
Mhm.
a case study that I did with someone, and
Mhm.
I produced these kind of results. I would
Right.
love to set up here's a link to set up a call to talk to you.
Mhm.
Right. So now I've gone from just the casual, hey, let's get connected
Mhm.
to I haven't heard back from you, but here's why I want to talk to you.
Mhm.
Right. Look at the case study. I can produce results for you. Let's get connected. And
Mhm.
then my final message is, you know what? I got it. You're busy. You're not interested. If there's ever any way that I can support you with reaching your goals,
Mhm.
I would be happy to chat with you. I wish you all the best.
Mhm.
That's it. 4 steps, 5 steps if you include the look at their profile.
No, I love that. I love that. And in particular, I love the third one that you're talking about, where you're essentially establishing authority, right? That's what you're doing with the case study. Like, hey, I
Yes.
know what I'm talking about, right? It's not like I'm just reaching out and wasting your time. You're not wasting your time talking to me. I'm somebody who has real case studies, and I know I can provide value to you. So I love that. I love that approach. Awesome. So let's get into my next question. What are some of the mistakes you made when you first started doing cold outreach?
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's a mistake I'm still making, and I'm happy to admit that I make the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I have not dedicated enough time to following up on my leads. I have
Right.
a backlog of leads, people who have connected to me. I
Right.
didn't anticipate that my response would be as high as it is.
Right.
And so, if you're going to turn on the funnel,
Yeah.
you have to make sure you've actually planned the resources and the time
Right.
to deal with the funnel. Because, like I said earlier, people believe what they see in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so the response rate is very different than me turning on the funnel on an Instagram campaign or
Mm-hmm.
a Facebook campaign. When I turned on the LinkedIn campaign, people were like, yeah, hey, I would love to connect with you. Oh, yeah, let's schedule a meeting. So you really need to be ready.
Right.
That's mistake number one. Mistake number two that I made was that I didn't understand something about when I was working with Sales Robot. I didn't realize that it didn't run the next message if I got a response.
I see. Okay.
So I thought that someone said yes to connecting,
Yeah.
and then it would send the case study as the next message,
Right.
not realizing no, the case study only goes if you don't get a response.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
that was my second mistake, was not picking up. Like, I just sat back and I was like, oh yeah, it'll just send out the next message, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, no. The point of that campaign is a sequence to generate a response, and then you need to take over from
Right.
there once you get a response. So those, I think, were my two biggest mistakes.
Makes a ton of sense to me. But it's good that you acknowledge this, that LinkedIn is one of those channels that surprises me as well, right? It's like Facebook back in 2010, 2012, when everyone was, just so positive, connecting, and it used to be great. But look at Facebook now. So now, the energy of 2012 Facebook is 2023 LinkedIn, right?
Yes. And it's funny that you say that, Sarav, because I said to my business partner this morning, I said, I think we've got about a year or two before people ruin LinkedIn, like they've ruined all their social,
My God, you're right. You're
right?
100% spot on.
People respect it now, and the level is still professional, but the number of campaigns that I'm getting for people who are like, I can generate 30 leads a day, blah blah, like that number is starting to go up on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
And if people treat LinkedIn the way Instagram and Facebook were treated in the earlier days, like you say, 10, 7 to 10 years ago, if we treat it that way, it will go the way of those platforms where people just put it on ignore.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true. That's kind of what will happen if this continues. All right. On to my final question then. What are some of the things that you're excited about trying to improve your cold outreach process?
I'm excited about hiring a support person
Mm-hmm.
to be me
Mm-hmm.
to train somebody to be able to respond and sound like me,
Mm-hmm.
to help me with that volume. Um, and I say that, and I think I want, for the listeners, I really want to elaborate on that a little bit, because people might perceive that as being disingenuous or fake or something like that.
Right.
That's not the case for me. I see it as I'm having a support person because, okay, let me back up for 1 second. Because LinkedIn is a personal business platform, I think people believe that if they're getting an email, a message, it's coming from me. So I don't think that it's appropriate to respond and say, oh, from Damian's assistant or whatnot.
Right.
At the same time, I don't think that it's appropriate for me to spend all my time responding to messages.
Mm-hmm.
Where I can provide the value is when someone gets on a call with me
Mm-hmm.
and I can actually get to know them. I'm not asking anyone to get on the call with them. I'm going to get on a call with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a one-to-one conversation with them like you and I are having right now. I'm going to find out what they need and whether or not I'm a fit for them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But getting that appointment set up, I can have help
Mm-hmm.
with them.
Right.
And I think that's exciting. That's exciting for me. That encompasses a lot. There's a lot, I said a lot about that, but that encompasses a lot, because there's a training opportunity there. There's hiring the right person. There's making sure that I monitor their responses so that I'm satisfied that they're sounding like me.
Mm-hmm.
There's training them to screen out whether or not it's an appropriate person for me, or if they should be sending them to something else. Maybe it's more important. Maybe it's better to send them to my website for an online program or something like that. So yeah, there's complexities in the follow-up as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I know I love that, because if you look at the entire process, I don't know why, it's just a social thing, right? If you get an email back and it says sent from XYZ's assistant, you're like, oh fine, the assistant is managing their inbox. But
Yes.
LinkedIn inbox is still an inbox, right? Like, why is it weird if if it comes across as sent by Damian's assistant? Like, nobody has that in there, right? You don't even get a send from somebody's iPhone in there. It's that personal.
Right. Yes, it's absolutely correct. And I to go back to a point that we were talking about earlier, I think what's important for anybody who's listening to this, or anybody who's going to take on LinkedIn cold selling,
Mhm.
is if you respect it, all of us will be able to enjoy this platform for a longer period of time. We're all professionals. We're all interested in reaching other professionals to market our services. And I'm very mindful about who I select
Mhm.
to go out to speak to. I only select people that I think would be a good fit for
Mhm.
working with me. I don't go blast out the whole world. Like you
Right.
said, I'm very specific about who I'm choosing.
Mhm.
When I do a search, I go through that and make sure that every single one of those leads are appropriate leads. And I believe that those people have a good chance of wanting to hear from me.
Mhm.
And if we all did that kind of respect,
Mhm.
then I think we'll enjoy this platform a lot longer.
Yeah, that's a great note to end this podcast on. No, I love that. I mean, it's that old adage, right? Marketers ruin everything. I first heard that, 5 years back, and it's rung true ever since, right? Marketers eventually will ruin every platform, but for the love of God, let's just please let LinkedIn stay for like 3 or 4 more years before we, completely ruin it. I'm a marketer myself, so I say it out of love. Marketers, please, like, give us three or four
Yes,
more years.
yes.
Awesome.
We
Awesome.
ruined email. We ruined email. We ruined Facebook.
Yeah, the marketers ruin everything.
Saurabh, this was great. I really appreciate the opportunity to have a chat with you and talk some of this out. And I hope it was useful for you and useful for the folks that are listening.
It was definitely useful for me, and I hope we get some good feedback on this one. So thank you so much for coming on, Damian. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome, and we'll chat with you soon.
So that's all the time we have, folks. I really enjoyed the episode. I hope you did too. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, whatever you can to spread the word out about cold outreach success stories so more people can enjoy and learn from the show. All right, that's all, folks. Bye bye.